Good morning. This is Benjamin Boyce. And I want to read to you from NBCSanDiego.com. Students will no longer be graded based on a yearly average or on how late they turn in assignments. Those are just some of the major grading changes approved this week by California's second largest school district. The San Diego Unified School District, or STUDIST, is overhauling the way it grades students. Board members say the changes are part of a larger effort to combat racism. This is part of our honest reckoning as a school district, says STUDIST Vice President Richard Barrera. If we're actually going to be an anti-racist school district, we have to confront practices like this that have gone on for years and years, such as turning in homework on time and grading based on grades. According to data presented by the district, under the old grading system, teachers fail minority students more than, capital W, white students. A lot more. During the first semester of last year, 30% of all D or F grades were given to English learners. 1 in 4, that is 25%, of failing marks went to students with disabilities. By ethnicity, 23 went to Native Americans. Another 23% of failing grades went to Hispanics, which make up what percent of the population? We're not seeing the data. And 20% of D or F grades went to Black students. All these ethnicities or racial categories have been capitalized so far. By comparison, just 7% of failing marks went to white students. What percentage of the population do white people make up, or white students make up? I hope he doesn't unplug our connection. In an effort to change that racial imbalance, the school board voted unanimously this week to make several big changes to its grading system. Academic grades will now follow on mastery of the material. How are you going to assess that without grades? Not a yearly average. So, admittedly, I don't really understand what they mean by a yearly average of grades, I would assume, which board members say penalizes students who get a slow start or who struggle at points throughout the year. Again, this is advocating leniency. Is leniency the best path towards producing a good society or a strong generation? To continue, another big change. Teachers can no longer consider non-material factors when grading. Things like turning work in on time and classroom behavior will now instead count towards this is the scariest part of the article for me, students' citizenship grade. Here we go. Not their academic. Where were we? I think this reflects a reality that students have described to us, and it's a change that's a long time coming, says Barrera. Student school board member Zachary Patterson, who is also a junior at University City High School, says while some classmates expressed concerns about grade inflation, that is the loss of value of grades for them being passed out according to race or in order to alleviate a perceived problem that is ascribed to racism. It could be other factors such as culture, such as parenting style. But of course, the school district itself takes it upon itself to try to change society. The school is now acting towards activist ends, which means to shape society rather than fulfilling its function of doling out knowledge to the students of society. So it is no longer serving the purpose of a school. It's serving the purpose of some sort of culture shaping mechanism, which I guess you could argue schools were always like that, but at least they had the patina of being about something other than shaping society. In one cynical reading of what schools were, it's about getting you to become a good worker so that you can enter the workforce. These schools won't even be giving you the skills to be a good worker because you're not going to be showing up on time, and you're always going to be given excuses or be giving excuses in order to get out of some sort of performance review. You're not going to learn that there is a direct correlation between your behavior and how employable you are, how well you're looked on in the institution that you are trying to get resources from. But maybe in a socialist utopia, you don't have to worry about the product of your work or the quality of your product. You can just show up or not show up, or blame it all on the institution. To get back into this brief article, student school board member Zachary Patterson, who's also a junior at University City High School, says while some classmates expressed concerns about grade inflation, overall the feedback from his peers is positive. I know students all across the school district are really happy with the idea that these other accountability measures are no longer going to be defining their understanding of knowledge, says Patterson. After Patterson expressed concerns at this week's meeting, the board will also review potential student disparities stemming from its zero-tolerance disciplinary policy on cheating in the coming weeks. Nearly 106,000 students attend a San Diego Unified School District school. I don't want to sound like I'm ethnically superior, but China doesn't give a crap about intellectual property rights, otherwise known as cheating. China cheats. This school district is heading in the direction of China. No, it's not even China, because China has work ethic. I mean, they don't care about IP, but they at least show up to work. I don't know where this is headed. Anyways, I think that me sitting around in my bathrobe and bitching about these bad ideas or trying to foist my good ideas on them is, in a sense, lazy. So I want to counter with something positive. The woke doctors at Woke Doctors on Twitter posted yesterday, anti-racism is not enough. Be pro-black. Pro-black doesn't mean anti-white. Pro-black is a lifestyle that encourages the social and economic growth and development of black people. Its sole purpose is to uplift a community that historically has been marginalized, brutalized, imprisoned, enslaved, and oppressed. Being pro-black is wanting to see the underdog succeed and doing everything in your power to see it through. Is being anti-racist the same as being pro-black? No. The answer is no. Anti-racism is actively ensuring that you, the people around you, the organizations you work for, and the systems in which you operate in aren't perpetuating racism. But being anti-racist shouldn't earn you a gold star, just like not being anti-women isn't the ultimate end goal. Being anti-racist is important, but it is the bare minimum. The end product of anti-racism is equality in treatment, access to opportunities, hiring, and promotion in the present time. But we also need redistributive justice. Black people are long due for reparations. Until reparations are realized, something America will probably never be ready for, we need a model that says it is okay to actively, dare we say, preferentially support everything Black. That means Black businesses, community organizations, and Black people. Such a model is rooted in an understanding that the economic and systemic forces that prevented Black people from thriving 100 years are still alive and well today. Let's be honest. You can be anti-racist and never step foot in a black neighborhood or spend a dime of your own personal money on black business. Being pro-black encourages people to be conscious of where and how they spend their personal money in order to help redistribute wealth, resources, and power to the black community. It is about empowering the black community and doing what it takes to help them thrive. Anti-racism is critical, but we believe falls short when placed within the socio-economic, political context of capitalism in which we operate. Until black people get reparations, being pro-black is something you can do right now to help level the playing field. When I saw that, I saw it in the context of criticizing this as kind of going from one form of grifting, which would be anti-racism, which is basically supporting an activist class, toward another form of, I don't think it's grifting. It was called grifting, but I don't think this is grifting. I think that there are some ideas that we could wrestle with in there, but I think that ultimately what we can do in order to stem the tide of bad ideas, to stem the tide of, let's say, these kind of communist principles that are edging into our society under the guise of anti-racism, under the guise of a lot of these different ideologies. If we really want to cut the wind out of the sails of this social justice in the negative sense movement, we need to actually listen to what it's speaking to. There is a demand. Why not fulfill that demand with better ideas? Why not each of us reach out or do a little bit of work to support black businesses, black entrepreneurs, black thinkers, black musicians, black culture makers, and trendsetters? If you and I enter into the community project of, let's just say, noticing that there are disparities and doing our part to pitch in with those disparities. If we do that on our own, then the government won't be able to do that, right? Or the activists won't get it their way. And if, let's say, a community succeeds in gaining resources through redistributive means, they will become addicted to that redistributive manner of gaining resources. Why not give them something better? Invest. If we take the initiative as, let's just say, liberals, as people who believe in the free market, as people who believe in critical thought, as people who believe in artistic excellence, if we take the initiative and invest and bring up people that these activists are saying they represent and targeting, the people on the other end of the activists will be getting a better product. We can continue forever critiquing the activists, but the tide of society is going toward, let's say, reparations for the black community. But at the end of the reparations for the black community, there are going to be all these other communities. If we want our liberal values to succeed, we need to take the initiative and not just act anti-illiberal, not just act against that which is against liberalism, but act in accordance with liberalism and invest and reach out and spark dialogues and learn, build community. We have to do better than the activists that are telling us to do better. And in that way, we will prevail. In that way, we will build stronger communities, and those communities will be deeper enmeshed together because the investments will be cycling among all of them, and there will be a lot of goodwill and appreciation fostered in that way, instead of the grifting, instead of these stupid seminars, instead of these institutions going around and eradicating standards or impressing standards on society in order to create something that is ultimately impossible, being perfect equity between all these different statistics. If we want to see our ideals win, we have to follow them through. Anyways, I hope that landed on accepting ears, and I hope you are about to have a good weekend. I need to clean out the litter box, and while I deal with that, you can deal with the good part of the kitty. Here you go.